is back with another movie review. Today I'm going to be taking a look at the 1997 TV movie Path to Paradise. Now, this was a HBO produced television project starring Peter Gallagher and Ned Eisenberg. The story depicts the events surrounding the 1993 World Trade Center bombing in New York. Now, I'm very familiar with the tragic events of 9/11. I was only 10 years old when I saw that stuff happening on TV. Yeah, just a terrible day in history. But when it comes to the 1993 World Trade Center bombing, my knowledge of that event was limited. So this TV movie from 1997, Path to Paradise, really did open my eyes, and subsequently it gave me a new perspective on the whole Twin Tower attacks. Now, I'll go into detail in just a sec, but to summarize, this movie showcased the miscommunications between all of the crime agencies that ultimately resulted in the 1993 attack happening. No doubt a story of incompetence on all sides. So the film starts with its depiction of the 1990 assassination of Mir Khan, a Jewish rabbi and far-right politician, founder of the Jewish Defense League. The actual assassination was carried out by an Egyptian called El Sayed Nasser, played by actor Sean Toob. It's an intense scene, no doubt, with Nasser completing the hit, then leaving the building, attempting to get away, and actually enters the wrong getaway car. We then see Nasser, the character, make his exit from the car and run down the road, and he's shooting people along the way. Nasser is eventually apprehended and taken into custody. It very much looked like a scene out of a Michael Mann crime movie. Yet, I have to remind myself that this was actually based on true events that took place. A crazy scene to start off the movie, and it's just fortunate that not many people were killed. Now, the reason we see this whole assassination go down at the start is basically to highlight the increasing tensions between the Jewish and Muslim communities. Nasser goes on trial for the assassination of the rabbi. All this is a setup to introduce the people who would later be involved in the 1993 bombing. The story then focuses on the character Imad Salem, played by the late great Ned Eisenberg. Salem, who was an Egyptian ex-army officer, had connections to the group of plotters in 1991, having met them at Nasser's trial. Salem would then actually go on to speak directly with the FBI regarding his connections and offer his services for a small financial incentive. The main FBI agent on the case was Detective John Antisev, played by Peter Gallagher. Throughout the whole movie, we see him give his account of the events into the investigation post the tower bombing. The movie then cuts back and forth, showing how all the events unfolded. I did appreciate this kind of technique and editing style, as there is a lot of information to grasp, and as I said, I'd not really I didn't really know too much about this whole event. The events unfold, and you have him coming in and out of the story, recapping the events, and giving kind of details and information about what happened. Initially, Salem is helpful, dripping details to the FBI about his relations with suspect Sheikh Abdel Rahman, played by actor Andreas Cantelus. During the early 90s, the Sheikh, a blind Islamist militant, was preaching at 3 mosques in New York City. Abdel Rahman was soon surrounded by a core group of devoted followers that included people that would later be responsible for the 1993 World Trade Center bombing. The Salim character would then eventually cut ties with the FBI after they basically refused outright to pay him $500 a week. Salem made the argument that he was risking his life, passing on this information, and that he needed, more of a money incentive to carry on doing so. The FBI refuse. They cut ties with Salem, and when you look at the whole kind of timeline of things, this was really a mistake on the intelligence agency's part. The FBI's reluctancy to continue to work closer with Salem ultimately advanced the terrorists' bomb plot. We then see the introduction to the character of Ramzi Youssef, played by actor Art Malik. Youssef, allied with the Sheikh, was one of the main perpetrators behind the 1993 attack. He had extensive knowledge of bomb making, which made him the perfect candidate to carry out this attack. So initially we see the character arriving at JFK Airport. He reached the United States, and he's with his companion Ahmed Ajay. Both he and his companion Ahmed have these issues with the immigration control. Subsequently, they end up being taken into this room and questioned about their background. Upon further investigation, the officers on duty discover Ahmed in possession of a terrorist kit and counterfeit entry stamps. Ahmed was, immediately arrested on the spot and incarcerated, while Youssef was let go. We would later find out that this was all part of their big overall plan for Ahmed to be incarcerated and deflect all the attention away from Youssef, which basically facilitated his entry into America. Once released to the streets of New York, Youssef, aided by a driver called Mohammed Salama and Mohammed Abu Halima, begin assembling their bomb in Jersey City. The movie then shows the group's extensive pre-planning, hiring a van to transport explosive materials and renting out a storage unit to stockpile them. And all this time, it seems the FBI are 2 steps behind the terrorists. So the movie culminates in the 1993 Twin Tower bombing attack carried out by the extremists. The van that we saw being used to transport the hazardous materials would later be driven into the garage of the World Trade Center by Ramzi Youssef. The bomb was inside the van. Youssef ran off and it detonated, it exploded. 6 people were killed and hundreds were also injured. Of course, an absolute tragic event, but given what we would later see in 2001, luckily the damage was nowhere near as extensive as that was. One thing I found interesting was a discussion earlier on involving the group and how they intended for the bomb to destroy the North Tower, which then ultimately would see the building topple over into the South Tower, collapsing both. Fortunately, the bomb that Ramzi Youssef made clearly was nowhere near as powerful as it needed to be to carry out their actual plan. The scene had a good build up to the explosion, very intense, and just sad to think that this actually took place. We are watching a dramatized version of the actual events, but still it's shocking to think what humans can do to each other. And in times like that, you ask yourself, where is the humanity? And who really gains from all of this? So the Youssef character, played by actor Art Malik, using his Pakistani passport, escapes the United States and flees to Iraq, where he would later be deported. The final 15 minutes of Path to Paradise showcases the aftermath of the attack and the FBI's initial arrests that they made in the following days. Once again, we see Peter Gallagher's character, Detective John Antisev, give his account of the incident and how badly all the agencies responded. Watching this whole film, there's just glaring opportunities that were missed, and it makes me think, the 1993 bombing could have been avoided, and it was down to miscommunications, egos in different agencies and departments not working together, not sharing information, and letting the terrorists slip through the cracks. Now, the final scene to Path to Paradise sees the return of the Ramzi Youssef character. As mentioned, he flees to Iraq but eventually gets deported back. We see this depicted when we see him in the helicopter flying over New York City. We get a close-up of Youssef inside of the helicopter as he looks down at the World Trade Center. Youssef then hauntingly utters the words, "Next time we'll bring them both down," before the film fades to black. Now, this final scene involving the Twin Towers, it's truly terrifying due to the obvious events that took place in 2001. It's a really creepy foreshadowing, and anyone watching this now, knowing the events of what happened after this film was made, it gives you an eerie feeling knowing what happened, and subsequently those words came true. Path to Paradise was released in 1997. It was broadcast on HBO, and of course the producers at HBO had no idea what they were actually producing with the ending here. Having had the tragic events unfold on 9/11 just 4 years after this film was made, this ending holds a much deeper significance now. And in some kind of morbid way, you could say that Path to Paradise, the ending with the Ramzi Youssef character uttering those words, it successfully predicted the Twin Towers' demise. The ending is haunting. There's no way around it. It really, because of the actual events of what transpired years later. There's no way around it. If 9/11 had never happened and the Twin Towers were still standing today in 2023, the ending to this movie, Path to Paradise, wouldn't hold the same significance. But sadly, it does because of what took place, and it's kind of scary. I couldn't believe when I read about this, and then I ended up actually watching the ending on YouTube as a clip. I was stunned, just like, when was this made? Like, oh my god, like, and the fact that obviously these weren't props, they were the actual Twin Towers. They filmed in a helicopter, they got these actors, they did a close up, they had the actor say these words, it was in the script, it was written, yada yada yada, it all played out. But nevertheless, that's the Twin Towers, and they were the towers that fell. And yeah, just really creepy, really eerie. Yeah, just it's hard to articulate, just kind of transcending, just and the movie, ends on a very kind of ominous, bleak kind of vibe, and it kind of does, linger to, future events may occur here. This is not over, and that's really kind of the summary that you get. And of course, in reality, it wasn't over, and in 2001 we saw the attacks happen. Yeah, just a really shocking ending, but very thought-provoking, and very, just in terms of just filmmaking, kind of end it with this kind of haunting kind of undertone message. Hey, they did a fantastic job. Also want to give credit to actor Art Malik, who played Ramzi Youssef. He's a talented actor that delivered a solid and authentic portrayal of a guy just hell-bent on bringing down the Twin Towers. And at the end, the way in which the actor Malik delivered those lines of dialogue in the helicopter, the way he did it, next time we'll bring them both down. Just like, oh man, it's just kind of so just chilling, really is chilling. And credit to Malik, the way he delivered that, in the cadence he used, this kind of unwavering confidence, that, how he said it, chilling, haunting stuff. And before I get to dislikes, I also just want to quickly mention some other kind of moments of foreshadowing throughout the movie. We have several scenes in Path to Paradise where we have shots of aeroplanes in the background or in the sky. Obviously, once again, filmmakers are completely unaware. Aeroplanes were never involved in the plot. It was all about a bomb, making the bomb, detonating it, and as I said, the plan to bring down the North Tower, let it collapse into the other. Filmmakers were unaware of, obviously, the significance of the aeroplanes, but once again, just watching this movie and knowing what happened or transcended in actuality 4 years after this project wrapped production, it's just, I haven't got the other word. I've mentioned, it's chilling, haunting, eerie, creepy, all of that just wrapped up into one. And immediately, when you're watching this, you're like, oh man, look, I see the aeroplane, and it's like in the background, but because it's, everyone's talking about Twin Towers, it's, it's immediately in your psyche of, oh, Twin Towers, 9/11. Yeah, just really, really eerie stuff. And so, dislikes for Path to Paradise. Overall, I highly recommend it. It's really a great television movie produced by HBO, but because it's so well done, it really does overall have a very bleak kind of atmosphere and vibe to it. And rightfully so. This was a movie based on true events, and the true events are shocking and terrible. So in some ways, some aspects, that's, what it was supposed to do. It's not supposed to be a happy-go-lucky, type movie. I get that. I give it plaudits. I think it's something everyone should watch, especially if you're into 9/11, even if you're into the conspiracies and stuff like that. The whole 1993 bombing is a very interesting kind of prelude to what actually took place in September of 2001. But after I watched this movie and then subsequently did some research on it for this review, I'm going to be honest, I'm not yearning to go back and rewatch this immediately. it's just very bleak, and it can really get the viewer down. And even though there's a lot of interesting stuff, and I felt compelled to go and read up about it more, recommend it, but it is very bleak, and I think that's actually a hindrance to it. Like that's kind of a weird kind of dislike I have for it. It's so well depicted. It's not a movie that you would, you've got to, I think you've got to kind of be in the zone to be ready for this kind of film, because it is, as I said, based on true events. It was terrible what happened. It's a tragic event, and lives were lost. Yeah, just not a film that I'm going to be immediately going back to rewatch anytime soon. But nevertheless, in terms of ratings for Path to Paradise, I'm going to be giving it a strong 8.5 out of 10. I've kind of already gone over it, but just to summarise, it's a very well made television movie. It makes you want to, read up even more about the events and what happened after leading up to 9/11. It has one of the darkest endings ever put to screen, in my opinion, just given obviously what happened on 9/11. Of course, this was unbeknownst to the filmmakers at the time, but nevertheless a very chilling ending. And really, just to anyone, I recommend it. If you have seen it, obviously I'd love to hear your comments below. If you haven't seen it and you're interested in viewing it, go ahead, but just be aware that it is bleak, and this tragic event could have easily have been avoided. It wasn't. This movie kind of does a great job in showing that, but it does give you a bit of a bad taste in your mouth after. So be prepared, but nevertheless, Path to Paradise, I do recommend it. 8.5 out of 10. And yeah, that's the review. Hope you enjoyed it, guys. Please like and subscribe, and I will see you very soon. Take care, guys.
Like, subscribe.